Hello and welcome to another episode of Current Affairs MCQ. Let's begin with previous day question. Consider the following statements about the Attorney General of India. Under Article 76, he must be qualified to be appointed as a judge of the Supreme Court. The Attorney General is appointed by the President on the advice of the Union Cabinet. He advises the government on legal matters and performs duties of a legal nature assigned by the President. How many of the above statements are correct? Only one, only two, all three, none. The correct answer is option B. The Attorney General of India must be qualified to be appointed as a judge of the Supreme Court under Article 72. As per Article 76 of the Constitution, the President shall appoint as Attorney General a person who meets the qualifications required for appointment as a Supreme Court judge. Hence, statement 1 is not correct. The Attorney General of India is appointed by the President under Article 76(1) of the Constitution on the advice of the Union Cabinet and holds office during the President's pleasure. Hence, statement 2 is correct. The Attorney General advises the Government of India on legal matters and performs duties of a legal nature assigned by the President. Hence, statement 3 is correct. Hence, option B is the correct answer. Before moving forward, Drishti IAS Noida Center admissions are open for IAS GS Foundation Prelims plus Mains course. English medium batch starting from 7th May, Hindi medium batch starting from 29th April. In case of any query, give us a call at 87501 87501. Let's begin with today's session. With reference to the governor, consider the following statements. A person appointed as governor should not be a member of either house of parliament or a house of the state legislature. When a person is appointed as governor for two or more states, the emoluments and allowances are shared between the states in a proportion decided by parliament. If a sitting MP or MLA is appointed as governor, they are deemed to have vacated their seat in the legislature on the date they enter the office of the governor. How many of the above statements are correct? Only one, only two, all three, none. The correct answer is option B. As per Article 158(2) of the Constitution, a person appointed as governor shall not be a member of either house of parliament or a house of the legislature of any state. Hence, statement 1 is correct. When a person is appointed as governor of two or more states, the president, not parliament, determines the proportion in which the states share the emoluments and allowances. Hence, statement 2 is not correct. If a sitting MP or MLA is appointed as governor, they are deemed to have vacated their seat in the legislature on the date they enter the office of the governor. Hence, statement 3 is correct. Hence, option B is the correct answer. Next, consider the following statements regarding Buddhism. Mahayana believes in the heavenliness of Buddha and idol worship of Buddha and bodhisattvas embodying Buddha nature. It originated in northern India and Kashmir and then spread eastward into Central Asia, East Asia and some parts of Southeast Asia. Theravada is a sect belonging to Mahayana. How many of the above statements are not correct? Only one, only two, all three, none. The correct answer is option A. Mahayana Buddhism believes in the heavenliness of Buddha and idol worship of Buddha and bodhisattvas who embody Buddha nature. Hence, statement 1 is correct. Mahayana Buddhism originated in northern India and Kashmir and spread eastward into Central Asia, East Asia and some parts of Southeast Asia. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Theravada is not a sect of Mahayana. It is a separate school of Buddhism that focuses on the original teachings of the Buddha and is predominant in Sri Lanka, Thailand, Cambodia, Myanmar and Laos. Hence, statement 3 is not correct. Hence, option A is the correct answer. Next, consider the following statements regarding the index of industrial production. It represents the level of production in the industrial sector during a specific period, comparing it to a base year 2011-12. The Central Statistical Organization is responsible for the compilation and publication of the IIP on a monthly basis. It measures the growth of industry groups under broad sectors such as mining and use-based sectors like basic goods. How many of the above statements are not correct? Only one, only two, all three, none. The correct answer is option D. Index of industrial production. It represents the level of production in the industrial sector during a specific period compared to a base year 2011-12. Hence, statement 1 is correct. The Central Statistical Organization is responsible for the compilation and publication of the Index of Industrial Production on a monthly basis. Hence, statement 2 is correct. It is a composite indicator that measures the growth rate of industry groups classified under broad sectors, namely mining, manufacturing, and electricity, use-based sectors, namely basic goods, capital goods, and intermediate goods. Hence, statement 3 is correct. Hence, option D is the correct answer. Next, consider the following statements regarding the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023. It allows the processing of personal data only after obtaining explicit consent from the individual. It grants the individual the right to access, correct, and erase their personal data. The Act provides for data localization only for certain sensitive personal data, not all personal data. How many of the above statements is or are correct? Only one, only two, all three, none. The correct answer is option C. Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023. It empowers individuals with the right to know and control their personal data. DPDPA mandates that personal data can be processed only with the explicit consent of the individual. Hence, statement 1 is correct. This act provides individuals with the rights to access, correct, and delete their personal data, thereby offering them greater control over their personal information. Hence, statement 2 is correct. The Act provides for data localization only for certain sensitive personal data, not all personal data. Hence, statement 3 is correct. Hence, option C is the correct answer. Next, consider the following statements. Statement 1. Section 44, Clause 3 of the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023 amends Section 8(1)(j) of the Right to Information Act 2005. Statement 2. The amendment through the DPDP Act removes the public interest exception from Section 8(1)(j) of the RTI Act, making it easier to withhold personal information without considering whether it serves the public interest. Which of the statement is correct in respect of the above statements? Both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, and statement 2 is the correct explanation for statement 1. Both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, and statement 2 is not the correct explanation for statement 1. Statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is incorrect. Statement 1 is incorrect, but statement 2 is correct. The correct answer is option A. Section 44(3) of the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023 amends Section 8(1)(j) of the Right to Information Act 2005. Hence, statement 1 is correct. This provision relates to the exemption from disclosure of personal information. The original Section 8(1)(j) allowed for the disclosure of personal information if it served a larger public interest. However, after the amendment through the DPDP Act, this public interest exception has been removed, meaning that all personal information is now completely exempt from disclosure, regardless of whether it serves public interest. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, and statement 2 is the correct explanation for statement 1. Hence, option A is the correct answer. Next, consider the following committees. Justice Verma Committee 2012, Margaret Elva Committee 1987, Geeta Mukherjee Committee 1996, Lodha Committee 2015. How many of the above committees is or are related to women empowerment or welfare? Only one, only two, all three, all four. The correct answer is option C. Justice Verma Committee 2012 was constituted to recommend amendments to the criminal law so as to provide for quicker trial and enhanced punishment for criminals accused of committing sexual assault against women. Margaret Elva Committee 1987 worked on issues relating to the implementation of welfare programs for women. Geeta Mukherjee Committee 1996 played a key role in advocating for the Women's Reservation Bill. Lodha Committee 2015 was constituted to recommend structural reforms in the Board of Control for Cricket in India in the aftermath of the IPL spot fixing and betting scandal. Hence, option C is the correct answer. Next, consider the following statements regarding Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He served as the chairman of the drafting committee of the Constituent Assembly and became the first law minister of independent India. He described Article 32 as the soul of the Constitution and the very heart of it. The Pune Pact of 1932 was an agreement between B.R. Ambedkar and Gandhiji concerning the political representation of the depressed classes. How many of the above statements is or are not correct? Only one, only two, all three, none. The correct answer is option D. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the chairman of the drafting committee of the Constituent Assembly and the first law minister of independent India. Hence, statement 1 is correct. He described Article 32 as the soul of the Constitution and the very heart of it because it provides the right to constitutional remedies protecting fundamental rights. Hence, statement 2 is correct. He strongly believed that democracy would only be effective if it brought about economic and social equality. He argued that liberty alone wasn't enough and that true democracy must address both social and economic inequalities to function meaningfully. The Pune Pact of 1932 was an agreement between Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and Gandhiji regarding the political representation of the depressed classes. Hence, statement 3 is correct. Hence, option D is the correct answer. Next. Consider the following statements. To authorize Parliament to legislate on a state subject in the national interest. To approve the proclamation of emergency under Article 352. To create a new All India service in the national interest. Which of the powers given above is or are part of the exclusive powers of the Rajya Sabha? 1 and 3 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 and 2 only, 1, 2 and 3. The correct answer is option A. Exclusive powers of the Rajya Sabha. Under Article 249 of the Constitution, Rajya Sabha may pass a resolution by a two-third majority of members present and voting, declaring that it is necessary in the national interest for Parliament to make laws with respect to state list subjects. This is an exclusive power of Rajya Sabha, hence statement 1 is correct. Approval of national emergency is done by both houses of Parliament as per Article 352(4). Hence, this is not an exclusive power of the Rajya Sabha, hence statement 2 is not correct. Under Article 312, if the Rajya Sabha passes a resolution by a two-third majority that it is necessary or expedient in the national interest to create an all India service, Parliament may create such a service by law. This is an exclusive power of the Rajya Sabha, hence statement 3 is correct, hence option A is the correct answer. Next, consider the following pairs with regard to military exercises. Vajra Prahar, India and US, Garuda Shakti, India and Indonesia, Mitra Shakti, India and Bangladesh, Dharma Guardian, India and Sri Lanka. How many of the above pairs is or are correctly matched? Only 1, only 2, only 3, all 4. The correct answer is option B. Vajra Prahar is an annual exercise hosted alternatively between Special Forces India and the United States. Hence, pair 1 is correctly matched. Garud Shakti is a bilateral military exercise between Indian Army Special Forces and Indonesian Special Forces. Hence, pair 2 is correctly matched. Mitra Shakti is an annual exercise between India and Sri Lanka based on counter-insurgency and counter-terrorism operations in semi-urban terrain. Hence, pair 3 is not correctly matched. Dharma Guardian is an annual exercise conducted alternatively in India and Japan. Hence, pair 4 is not correctly matched. Hence, option B is the correct answer. Next, consider the following. Mutation, sexual reproduction, genetic drift or clonal propagation. Which of the following processes given above contributes to genetic diversity in plant species? 1 and 2 only, 1, 2 and 3 only, 1, 2, 3 and 4, 2 and 4 only. The correct answer is option B. Mutation introduces new genetic variations by altering DNA sequences. These changes can be passed to the next generation, thereby contributing to genetic diversity. Sexual reproduction leads to genetic recombination during meiosis, producing offspring with unique genetic makeups. This is a major source of variation in plant populations. Genetic drift is a random change in allele frequencies, especially in small populations, and can lead to genetic diversity over time. Clonal propagation, on the other hand, involves producing genetically identical copies of a plant. Since it does not involve genetic recombination or mutation, it does not contribute to genetic diversity. Hence, option B is the correct answer. Now, it's time for the practice question. In the context of the Bhakti movement, the term Nirgun Bhakti refers to devotion to God with attributes and form, devotion to a formless, attributeless God, ritual offerings in temples, or worship of nature and elements. Send the answer of this question in the comments below. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.